Well, a lovely day down here today. Thought you might like a look at the inside of that modified ITT record player I've just done. It's a KA1025, and originally it had a Garrard deck, but somebody had been in there before me and well and truly buggered it up. So I was going to dump it, and I then remembered that I had a BSR deck, which was a bit newer, up in the shed hidden away. So thoughts turned as to, measuring up to see if it can be made to fit, for one thing. Because I thought, well, there's no reason why they should be the same size, because after all, BSR and Garrard were arch rivals back in the day, weren't they? And no, it wasn't too bad a job, though the fixing centres for a BSR are different. You can see I've had to move. This is the spring clamp underneath one of the suspension screws, and then even more elaborate is here, where I've had to graft on a piece of a suitable plywood, screw it and glue it, and then drill it to accept the other suspension screw mounting point. You can see the original is there. Well, that was that. Well, that's got the mechanical bit done, if you like, but there was still quite a lot to do, because the Garrard deck had a shady pole motor like this, but it formed a transformer. You find this sort of motor in quite a few old things, record players and some tape recorders, and even mains driven 8 tracks. The BSR McDonald 8 track certainly has a motor like this in it, although it's got 2 windings, one either side. Now, the winding on the Garrard put out about, I think it was about 20 volts AC, which was fed to this selenium rectifier here after passing through an auxiliary fuse up here. So, of course, as you can see, the BSR motor, well, it hasn't got that winding on it. So I've had to find a transformer that's suitable to run the amplifier. Now, the low voltage side runs the amp, and it also runs the lamp here that shows that your power's on. Interestingly, this fitting here, the bowl actually screws into, you can find in Philips machines. That capacitor is a Philips capacitor or a Mullard capacitor, but the rest of them seem to be made by ITT. It's a very odd mixture of ancient and modern, this is, because there's your selenium rectifier from before the days of germanium or silicon diodes. But look at the amplifier. They're actually microchips. There's 2, one for each channel. And then, of course, you've got your pots that look as if they've come straight out of an old radiogram or a stereogram, and some very old-fashioned looking resistors down there. So, yeah, curious mixture of ancient and modern. Well, again, in the shed, among all the bits, there was a suitable transformer. And so what I've done, I've kept the original off-on switch here, and the power now comes into this connector block, where it splits into 2 channels, one leading to the motor and its starting switch here, and the other one, of course, going to the mains transformer there. And there are 2 output tappings. Connecting across the 2 yellow wires gives you round about 35 volts, something like that, quite a lot. But there's a black wire as well, which forms the middle. It's in effect a sort of 3-phase thing, a 3-wire thing. So what I've done is to arrange so that the amplifier runs off one tapping and the lamp here runs off the other tapping. And I've had to uprate the voltage on this. This now has a 14 volt lamp in it, because when it's running it pulls the volts down to reasonable limits, so it's not dazzlingly bright, it's just nice the way it should be. Originally the lamp was fed from the AC, which enters here into the selenium rectifier, but some of it was diverted through this pair of resistors in parallel and then on into the lamp. but that seemed a bit wasteful to me because it gives off a fair amount of heat, I should think. So I've just done it with one of the windings. Now, having done all that, there was yet another thing to do, and I think I might replace this capacitor because there is a bit of a hum there, which I'm not too happy with. There's just a little bit of a hum, but I think there could be less hum if there was a new capacitor there. When you're fitting it, it doesn't particularly matter about the voltage rating, so to speak, as you've got, as long as it's within limits and above what, or compatible to what was in it. This one is actually 25 volts, 680 microfarad. So it wouldn't hurt it if you put in, say, one rated at 35 volts, 1000 microfarad. Don't go mad, because you might place additional strain on the rectifier or the transformer. But whatever you do, don't use less voltage, because you could go pop. Mitch, pitch and spark, like I said. Now, like I say, that was only one part of it, of course. The BSR deck, well, it would have been quite a lot of trouble to fit the Garrard cartridge. So I've left the SC12H cartridge in the BSR deck. But of course, again, the fittings underneath were slightly different. So here comes the lead from the tone arm, and these are great, these little connectors ITT use, because you just twist them and they come apart, and you can slip wires in or take wires out and then twist them back, and that's it, job done. And it goes onto a terminal board which came from the Garrard deck, and I had to drill a small hole with a self-tapping screw to mount it to the motor board, and then the wire runs into the amplifier, and it also runs back here to the 5-pin DIN plug, so you can tape from the record player. Now, another thing that needs doing is the earthing connection. This of course is a metal motor board, and this set has an earth. That's the green and yellow wire here, and there's an earthing post inside here. It's very important that this is all connected with a mains voltage machine, because you're speaking, well, where I live, I measured it the other day, it's 247 volts, so it's more than enough to give you a quick ticket into the next life, shall I say. So very important, earth it all properly, quite apart from anything else. It will help stop those annoying funny 50 CPS hums, or if you're in the States, I know, 60 CPS. So there we are, that's the job done. It's quite involved, but it can be done, and indeed some ITT equipment did have BSR decks in it. My friend Adam from Ashford, Vintage Sounds 1992, he has an ITT Music Centre, and that has a BSR deck in it, but it has a better cartridge in it than the older SC12M or SC12H. But yeah, nice piece of kit, and well worth saving. It did, as I say, seem a shame to just throw something like this out. Well, I don't know, what can one say? They're saying on the radio today that they've received information that Muslims were going to blow up a train, passenger train, on the line from Toronto to New York. It sounds like a long old way, that does to me. But yeah, I don't know. And what with them blowing up the Boston Marathon, it seems, how many more indications do people want that it's a horrible thing, isn't it? All this Islam. And just look at the part of the world it comes from. They're always blowing each other up, for heaven's sakes. Anyway, on that slightly cantankerous note, see you soon.